On this episode of the Contagious Influencers of America podcast, well, he may have wanted to be an athlete, but when you grow up surrounded by soon-to-be Hollywood royalty, things change.
My parents were involved in the film industry, and I grew up with kids like Sean Penn, Chris Penn, Rob Lowe, Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, Holly Robinson, all these folks who ended up having a wonderful career in film and television, just like myself.
I'm David Sams, your host of CIA Contagious Influencers of America podcast from the producers of Keep the Faith. And my guest today is none other than Superman, otherwise known as Dean Cain from Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, that aired for 4 seasons. That was one of my favorite shows years ago. Now, Dean is really so multifaceted. He's such a talented guy. Believe it or not, he was a Princeton University football star and made it to the NFL before he had an injury, and that ended his career, at least the football part of his career. But it was a blessing in disguise for those who've watched him over the years, because that door closed, another door opened, and he was in the film industry. How many times has that happened to you? I know that's happened to me multiple times. You're all set to go on something, you're all set to be something, and then bam, life just gives you a good smack, and all of a sudden you have to pivot. And many times that's God's plan to begin with. So we're going to hear about Dean and the path that God put him on. But though he's known for starring as Clark Kent, he's also produced and hosted a variety of shows, including Ripley's Believe It or Not, and he's made, get this, some 100 films. I got tired counting. One of those was actually God's Not Dead. And he's really jumped into the Christian film industry these days. In fact, his latest film that he's starring in is called No Vacancy, and it's in theaters on May the 9th. So be sure to go see that on May the 9th. It's called No Vacancy. And he's going to be talking about this upcoming film, and he's also going to be talking about why he loves doing Christian movies. And he's really, really, really at the forefront of some of the new things happening with this genre. This interview is really short, it's sweet, but it's jam-packed with tons of fun, including a little discussion about his college sweetheart, Brooke Shields. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that. But quickly, it's hard to miss. Prices for food, fuel, and homes are on the rise right now. Oh, and so are interest rates, let's face it. So I got to tell you, do not hesitate to make a move to see if a cash out refinance is for you. Why not give my friends at Fellowship Home Loans a call at 800-804-SAVE. That's 800-804-7283, and let them do a thorough check of the numbers and the market, plus your obligations to determine the best path for you. You can also find them at fellowshiphomeloans.com. With the market so uncertain, they will check to see if you can save or if it might make more sense to just hold tight. The Fellowship Home Loan team they'll take the time to listen to you and help you live the dream for less. So give them a call at 800-804-SAVE or find them online at fellowshiphomeloans.com. Intercontinental Capital Group, DBA, Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender, in MLS number 60134. Let's get to that interview that I just recently did with Dean Cain. Well, hello, Dean.
Hello.
Well, I got to ask you something.
False. Sorry.
First
I deny it.
We'll get to that part in a minute. Let's just start out by I'd just like for you to tell us a little bit about yourself. What your growing up. Where are you from, and what was it like growing up?
So I was born in Detroit, Michigan. But at the age of 3, moved to Los Angeles, California, and at the age of 5, moved to Malibu, California. So my upbringing was on the hardscrabble streets of Malibu, California. Growing up, going to the beach all the time, skateboarding, surfing, playing every sport under the sun, out running around until dark, get home just before dark. kind of a situation. My parents were involved in the film industry, and I grew up with kids like Sean Penn, Chris Penn, Rob Lowe, Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, Holly Robinson, all these folks who ended up having a wonderful career in film and television, just like myself. We were different in that I was just really an athlete and a student. I didn't aspire to work in the film world, but after going through college and getting around to where I'm starting to think about what I'm going to do for a real living, all of these guys started getting very famous. My dad was directing them in Young Guns and some other movies, and I thought that looked like a lot more fun than what my friends were doing. I went to Princeton University for college in New Jersey, and all my friends worked in Wall Street and stuff in New York, and that did not look like fun and didn't appeal to me. Growing up on film sets, that seemed like much more of a dynamic lifestyle, and there's something about being on film sets that if you get bit with the bug, that's pretty much where you're going to be, and that's where I ended up.
Well, it's a pretty interesting storied background as a kid when you went to school with Charlie Sheen, Rob Lowe, and then you dated Brooke Shields in college?
Yeah, Brooke was a year ahead of me in college, and we ended up in the same eating club, which is Princeton's unique, and we don't have fraternities and sorority houses. We have eating clubs. That's the social life of juniors and seniors there. And we were friends, and yeah, I dated her throughout most of my college time. Wonderful, 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 wonderful woman and person. And I have nothing but the most positive things to say about her. And we're still friends today.
Well, the real question I want to know, I've wanted to know for a long time. I mean, a long time. And that is on Lois and Clark, New Adventures of Superman. Were you and Terry Hatcher a thing? Because I had a thing for her, and I didn't want you to have a thing for her.
No, Terry was married. Terry got married after the first season. There was no thing going on there. There was we had great chemistry on camera, but there wasn't.
Yeah, you did.
There was no thing happening there. Her husband was actually in season 3 or 4 for a lot of the episodes too. So no thing was happening there. We had wonderful chemistry on set and on screen, and we're still friends today. And I'd love to see where Lois and Clark are now, 35 years later, 30 years later, whatever it is. So hopefully we'll get some sort of closure on that one way or another. That would be really interesting. But no, there was no hanky-panky going on there, sir.
You've had such a prolific film and TV career. I think I counted something like 90 films and some 70 TV shows and series and things that you've been in. And, what are you now, 39? I mean, it's unbelievable.
32 years old. Yes.
But
I'll be 56 this year.
Yeah, in recent years, you've done a number of faith-based films. And I'd like to know, why did you get into the faith-based film side of things? I mean, it's not like you needed the work. What was the reason?
Well, my son was born 21 and a half years ago, and a big part of that came from the fact that I'm raising a child, and he's going to be on my sets, and he's going to be watching my films, and he's going to be around the people that I'm making these films with. And also just once I became a father, faith became much more important to me. I was 33 years old when my son was born, and it just made a big difference to me. And he went to a Christian high school. I wanted him to have a strong faith and a basis for having that faith and an education for that. So it just became much more important to me. And I had an opportunity to do that. I did a film that did really well, God's Not Dead, that we didn't expect. It was a small film. We didn't expect it to do the kind of numbers that it did. And that was wonderful for me. And then I realized that, it doesn't matter if a film does that huge numbers. People end up seeing it, and so I started working. I'm trying to say yes to more faith-based films. And I can't even tell you the number of people who have come up to me, actors, who say, I want to get in that faith-based world. I want to make those movies because they're great. They're wonderful messages for our children and for our families. And I want to be a part of that. And I've turned a lot of those folks onto people who make these faith-based films and family-friendly films. I just found that to be wonderful. Not every film I make is certainly a faith-based or family-friendly film, but when I can say yes to them, I do it because I think they're positive and help change our culture for the positive.
By the way, did your son go to Oaks Christian?
My son went to Oaks Christian. Yes,
oh,
sir.
Okay. Well, both my daughters went there, so maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, great place.
Yeah. My oldest daughter just graduated last year with 3 degrees from Pepperdine, and she's a photographer in Malibu now. She does all of the Sports Illustrated, And I know you're quite the ladies' man. So if you want my daughter's number, she knows every beautiful woman in Malibu.
Well, considering I'm about 400 meters from Pepperdine right now, and that's where I work out all the time, up in Pepperdine.
There you go.
We'll have to work that out because I am still single.
I know. So am I. We'll have to get together when we're out now. You can be my wingman.
Deal. Done. I'm a great wingman.
So now you're starring in this movie that my buddies put together, the Sailors Brothers, and it's called No Vacancy. And tell me about that.
No Vacancy is a lovely story. It's a true story, so it's a little gritty. The real story is about Cecil Johnson, and T.C. Stallings plays that character. It's when you break it down, it's his journey that we're really following. At the same time, there are 2 other stories going on. My character, Cliff Lee, Pastor Cliff Lee, is the head of a church that wants to buy an existing hotel and turn it into a homeless shelter. And then there's the story of Sean Young, who's a reporter who gets assigned to this little podunk town that we're in, Leesburg, and then has to cover this story. And then she ends up getting actually very interested in the story, meeting Cecil, meeting me, hearing the story we're talking about and the things we're doing. And she tells the story. And because of that, and Cecil's story about, being drug-addled and drug-addicted and having no education and no hope, to becoming part of our ministry, and then having this incredible growth and belonging and becoming this very key figure in the church, it's such a uplifting, wonderful story. And the way the community comes together to support the church and men like Cecil, it's a wonderful story of hope and redemption and faith and kindness, really.
It's amazing now, all the ways to distribute these things. You have Fathom events, you've got streaming, you've got, of course, theatrical, and various other ways of getting these things out there. But, for somebody in the industry right now, and I know you're also breaking into directing, right? Mm-hmm. For somebody that's in the industry right now, how do you look at the opportunities today versus 20 years ago?
I think the opportunities today are so much more, because the technology has allowed people to be able to make a film much more cheaply than before. You're not having to shoot it on film. These digital cameras have such tremendous ability. You have such ability to tell these stories. I mean, little iPhones are 4K and beyond, and it's crazy the quality that you can get with these cameras, what you can do digitally that you just couldn't do back in the day. So that allows everybody to be a storyteller and to get into this world. And I think it's great. Plus, now there are 900,000 different places where you can put your movie. You can have it streaming. You can go to the theaters. You can put it on YouTube and just get your name known because you make something by yourself that is phenomenal, or with your friends. So I think it's changed. And it's interesting to have watched the change happen. Even when I started acting, it was, you could be a television actor or a film actor. You couldn't be both. You had to be one or the other. Then it became, you could be a television actor who translates their transitions into film, George Clooney and Johnny Depp and guys like that. Then it became, have a sex tape and you get a shot to make movies. And then it became, now it's just a wide open situation where if you have a really good idea and some skill, you can film a movie and people will see it because you can get it out in front of eyeballs. And I think it's a wonderfully exciting time. And I love that there's so many different places for product.
So what do you hope to accomplish over the next year? Is there a particular role you'd like to do, or a project that you're working on? What's sort of your dream?
Well, I just finished writing, producing, directing, and starring in a film called Little Angels. I just finished the movie. It's just now complete, and distributors are looking at it. That is a project that is near and dear to my heart. I'd like to get that one set up, sold. It deals with, girls soccer, under 13-year-old girls soccer. And I play a a college football superstar coach who has to coach these girls and doesn't like it, but then it grows to love the girls. And it's a wonderful family film. And I'd love to see that thing out there before World Cup in November, getting, millions of eyeballs on it and inspiring young female athletes to compete, go at it. And I just think it's a really wonderful, lovely, uplifting story. So I'd love to see Little Angels out there in front of a lot of eyeballs. And I'd like to be writing, directing another picture before the year ends.
Well, fantastic. Hey, Dean, thanks a lot for your time. And hey, I'm going to hold you to it. When I come out there in a few weeks, I'm going to need a good wingman there in Malibu.
Good one.
And if you're my wingman, I'll introduce you to my daughter. And
then she can introduce me to half of Malibu.
Exactly.
Deal. Perfect.
Deal. You got
it. Perfect. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Dean. Thanks for jumping into the podcast in between takes there on the set, and I really appreciate you. And I can't wait for you to be my wingman the next time I'm in L.A. Yeah, Superman is my wingman. But first, I got to tell you, I'm going to be heading out to the theater on May 9th to see your movie, No Vacancy. And of course, folks, it's based on a true story. It's going to lift your spirits, so go check it out as well. May 9th, No Vacancy. Hey, listen, I'd love for you to check out our all of our episodes. We're up to 155 or something. You can go check them out at contagiousInfluencers.com. contagiousInfluencers.com, and you'll see the vast array of our entire library. So if you're like me and you go out there and you walk every day, I'm up to 8 miles a day, and I just love listening and discovering new podcasts. It's so much fun. So please do listen. Of course, the first 50, 60, 70, I had no idea what I was doing. So if you want to hear me stumbling all around, just start with episode 1 and work forward. And if you want to hear me, I would like to think I'm doing a little better job than I did in episode 1. Now that we're on episode 150 plus, you can start from this episode and work the other way. So I'll leave that up to you. And of course, go to KeepTheFaith.com to check out our radio show. And you can actually listen to episodes right there at KeepTheFaith.com. Most of all, the sun's coming out. It's springtime. Oh, man, it feels so good here in Middle Tennessee. I've been taking my allergy medicine every day, and I'm feeling good. The weather is perfect right now, and all I got to tell you is do what I do every day, and that is to go out there and live that life and live in color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living in black and white. We'll see you next time.